So what we want to do today is I want to share with you what some of those top performing organizations are doing. I love to share stories, but the stories you can say, well, I'm not an HC1 and my problems are different, and I'm not an LV and my problems are different. But what we've done is that we've gathered in data from all kinds of organizations to look for characteristics of these top performing organizations. Now, I'm going to share some of that with you, but it's going to be really important today that you also take something away that you can do differently, because the key thing about these organizations is that they're not just chatting about this stuff at conferences and breakfast meetings. They're going away and they're doing things, even if it's just one thing. And what we wanted to do is to not only encourage that through the conversation, but all of you will be given access to an app at the end of this session to not only access the slides, the case studies, the research programs, everything that we talk about today, but also how you can connect and think, well, actually, this is what I'm going to do differently as a result of today, so that we can actually, if you want to, share your views and what you want to take away with each other. Because we need to encourage each other. We know the importance of reflection and the application of learning once we get out of the classroom environment. So, you know, I'm going to throw out a challenge to you guys early on to say, look, as we listen today, as we talk to each other and learn from each other, what is the thing that you want to take away and do differently? And obviously, through the app, we'll be able to help you to consolidate that coming through. In terms of kind of fueling the conversation today, what I want to do is to share with you just about 6 things that these guys really set them completely apart from the others. And the first thing is that they make business priorities, a business alignment, an absolute priority. They have those conversations directly through with business leaders. Like Shai Patel and Alison, they had that conversation. And this is what we need. We need to turn the business around. I mean, Alison knew what her aims were before she actually set up that actual program. And they all say that their learning activity is aligned to the business needs. Now, you may say that's absolute common sense, complete common sense. But actually, only 56% of us overall can confidently say that what we do as learning and development professionals is aligned to the business. One of the top learning organisations that we've been working with in the last 10 years is PricewaterhouseCoopers. And those of you who know Sarah Lindsell, she's known for saying this, is that her role as a learning and development professional isn't to deliver a course, but it's basically to solve a business problem. And she's got that attitude of coming to the table with what business problem am I here to solve today, and therefore how do I do it? The other thing that the top deck people do is they provide their learners with an active voice. Like LV, we're encouraging their staff to talk and share with each other. That needs permission. That needs facilitation. That needs an attitude for learning that's not only in L&D but also in business as well. And you know, the learning and development people in the top deck organisations, all of them are confident that they know how their staff learn at work. They don't assume learning styles. They don't assume that they're not going to use mobile, or they are going to use mobile, or because they're millennials, they're bound to work like this. They are proactive in going out and finding out about their learners. And actually, only a third of us, on average, have that active area. I'm just going to share with you a couple of things from a new report we've done on leadership training, because we do some work directly with learners through our learning landscape. We had 2,000 leaders come through the learning landscape telling us how they learn what they need to do their job. And what we found was leaders, directors, senior managers, line managers, were saying, you know, collaboration, web search, we're using the mobile devices. Directors certainly are learning on the move all the time. And only about 56% of the directors, where normally we apply all of our classroom training and budget, said that actually the classroom was essential. And if you compare that with what learning leaders are actually doing to help the business leaders, we really see some differences. So collaboration is absolutely essential. But 3 in 10 have got of learning and development professionals have got no kind of even plans to kind of involve any kind of technology, social media involved with their learning. 7 out of 10 find web search useful, but we all know it's hard to find things, but only 3 in 10 of learning leaders have actually helped curate and pull things together for leadership training. It goes on. Leaders are using their mobiles for learning, and yet we don't provide mobile learning in our organisations for leadership training. So, you know, the top deck organisations will be starting their solution from this position first, and then designing the most appropriate solution, rather than starting in a place in history and then just trying to assume that everyone in today's changing world is going to be able to adapt. So that's just another little thing to kind of spark your conversations a little bit later about the active voice. Clearly, organisations like LV, like HC1, are saying actually learning's not just about the course, it's about supporting that whole continuum. And again, the top deck, all of them believe that their role is no longer just about the course. And yet again, on average, it's only about 50% of learning and development professionals believe that we've got a role beyond the course to be able to solve solutions. They harness technology. They do allocate more budget than average to using technology. They can't do this without them. But the top decks aren't just the ones with loads of budget. It's the proportion of what they've got and where they allocate it that's the important thing. And what we find is that they're more likely to be using things like user-generated content, video, blogs, curation, content in the cloud, stuff that's agile, flexible, free, cheap, to really kind of combine into the solutions that they're creating. They're not driven by technology, but boy, do they harness it for the advantage of their learners. They're also proactive in connecting. They don't just create something amazing, but they make sure people can access it. It's communicated effectively. Only 44% have got any kind of communication strategy around the learning initiatives that we spend all our time and our money actively involved in. So there's a communication aspect there as well. And the other thing is that they're very focused on building the capabilities of their learning and development team. In the top 3 barriers for the last 5 years, L&D skills, end user skills, a whole range of issues around skills are what we as learning professionals are saying is holding us back from achieving our goals.